And there's new information today about a private phone call between Donald Trump and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy about this. McCarthy telling Donald Trump that he supports essentially erasing from the congressional record the 2 impeachments that Trump suffered as president. But why? And why now? And can they even do it? Joining us now for more on all of this is former Republican Congressman, a key member of the House Select Committee that investigated January 6th, Adam Kinzinger. It's good to see you, Congressman. Let's get to expunging in a second. First, your reaction to now there is a trial date set in the case against Trump and his handling of classified documents. What do you think of May 2024? What does it mean to you?
Well, I mean, I think the country's just ready for this to happen. So we all wish it was tomorrow, but I'm not overly surprised it's May. I mean, the thing I'm actually concerned about, Kate, is that it's going to get pushed even further again. You know, the closer it gets to the election and then beyond the election, because I think it's Donald Trump's calculus that he's going to, in his mind, win the election and then turn around and pardon himself. And that's never been challenged constitutionally. So that has to go to the Supreme Court. That has to go through DOJ. His own DOJ can drop the charges. So I think his focus is entirely on delay. It'll be interesting to see if they can pull that off. It's a very complex issue with, I think it's called CIPA, the Classified Information Procedures Act. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can pull off May. I think December definitely was a bit aggressive probably for this case.
And let's talk politically and the impact on the political calendar. Obviously, the first contest will have happened. Many contests will have happened. Super Tuesday would have happened getting into March and April. And I was just looking at my home state, Indiana, which was a decisive primary in 2016 when he first ran, when everyone started kind of giving up. In 2024, I think the primary date is May 7th is what I think I saw. So a lot of this is going to be wrapped in the lead up to this trial.
Yeah, it is. And so, look, I think, probably we already know where any indictments that come down anymore, any further acts like, legally, probably is going to help Donald Trump in the primary. That doesn't mean it's going to help him in the national election, but in the primary, because right now he's getting so bad, honestly, and looks so bad that now people have kind of buckled down and said, if I admit that Donald Trump is bad, then I have to kind of take inventory with the fact that I supported him for 8 years, particularly in political folks. So, yeah, I think this may not change his view in the party, but certainly, look, every one of these, Donald Trump is, the rest of America, besides kind of the most hardcore Republicans, don't want a president that's potentially going to be convicted of a federal crime and already has been indicted of a crime.
Let me ask you about this effort or talk of or push for expunging or trying to expunge Donald Trump's impeachments. First off, do you think they can do it? And second, what do you see in this effort and what it says about really the relationship between McCarthy and Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, maybe they can technically expunge it from the congressional record, but the history books can't be expunged, right? I mean, at least as long as we still have the First Amendment and free speech. People will remember that. This goes to show, look, Kate, if all of a sudden it became conservative to get a slingshot and fire a duck to the moon or something like that, Kevin McCarthy would be leading the charge to do that. Because his only thing, he has compromised so much in his personal values to become speaker that he has to keep Donald Trump on his side and he has to keep his people on his side. So somebody came up with this idea of expunging the impeachment. So now Kevin McCarthy has to lead that effort or he will not be sufficiently pro-Trump. I think we've learned after a number of years, there really is no middle ground on Donald Trump. You either need to be all in or you need to be all out. You can't be lukewarm. And, Kevin McCarthy knows that to his credit because he knows how to play politics. It's just, I could never do that. And I think most Americans could probably never do that.
And it may have an effect of, if they do move forward with this, putting more moderate Republicans who helped Kevin McCarthy win the majority and become speaker, put them in a very tough position if they are set up to need to vote on this as well. Adam Kinzinger, always good to see you. Thank you.
Here to share their reporting, CNN's Jeff Zeleny, CNN's Paula Reed, and former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams. Happy Friday. Today's not Monday, is it? Friday. No. I don't mean to scare you out there. It is Friday. Let's just look at one of the things that Aileen Cannon said. She said the government's proposed schedule is atypically scheduled. and inconsistent with ensuring a fair trial, meaning the prosecution wanted to do it by the end of this calendar year, and she's saying too fast.
Yeah, way too fast. And in court Tuesday down in Florida, I was there, and she pressed the lawyers to give her one example of a case like this that had gone to trial that quickly. It was clear that she was really skeptical of the idea of doing this in December, but she also was not buying the defense argument that it was too soon to even set a trial date. The defense attorneys were adamant. They believe it was unfair to do any sort of trial before the 2024 election. They said it was too soon to set a date. Here, she's kind of splitting the difference.
Not uncommon for a judge to move a trial date forward, set a date, but it's also not uncommon for that date to slip further. And I think we can all be in agreement that this is not going to trial in May.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
No.
I think and Paul agrees with me, but I don't know when I can get Paul Reed to agree. No, but I think there's so many incremental steps along the way where they're going to have motions with respect to classified documents, how you pick a jury, not just picking the jury, but what will the procedures be for getting folks who are cleared to do this. All of those things are going to slow this thing down. It's not uncommon. Judges will put a date on, and then as we get closer to that date, bump it forward.
But we agreed that that would be the soonest
That is
this
the-
trial would happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so given that, let's talk politics and where the primary calendar is. And that is, you made a point of saying this internally today, and that is May 14th and May 21st. Those are the last possible days. It's not totally set, the primary calendar, but that's the last possible days. Back in 2016, Trump effectively clinched the nomination by May of 2016. Usually by that point in the calendar, we know who the nominee is going to be.
Right, and this will not change. These primary dates, once they are set, and they'll be set this fall, the RNC will have a final ruling in October or so, so the primary date will be set. So one thing is clear, the vast majority of Republican primary contests will be finished before Donald Trump ever stands trial. So what does that mean necessarily? The voters will have the say long before any jurors or a court of law does in as many cases. So the primary calendar, of course, is something that he is intensely focused on. He would like to win this early. We will see if that happens. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. You said he clinched the nomination at the end of May in 2016. He's the front runner this time. It's an entirely different race. So they would like to do it earlier. But we've seen history has shown it going a little bit longer. In 2008, we remember Obama and Hillary Clinton fought another month beyond that. So the fight over delegates will happen. But the headline here is voters will make their say before the jurors do.
What does it tell you, though, about, can we read any tea leaves into the judge's decision to kind of split the difference between putting it on the calendar in a place where we are pretty confident that the Republican primaries are going to be over, but not before the general election?
So we have to remember, and I saw this in court on Tuesday, this is a judge who was eviscerated by the bar and by other judges over a decision that she made related to this case several months back, when it appeared that she was really leaning in favor of former President Trump by offering to, agreeing to give a special master to go through the classified documents. It was obvious to me in court that she was trying very hard to push back on both sides equally and to focus not so much on Trump's status as a candidate. The lawyers were focused on that. She was like, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the law, the work, and the procedure. Tell me how long you need to do the work, and I will set a calendar accordingly. So when I saw this today, not only did she split the difference in terms of the timeline right now, but she laid out a detailed schedule, 30 different deadlines. So if you look at this, it's clear she's trying very hard to appear fair, balanced, and focused on procedure, not politics.
I want to play something that the former president said during a radio interview with Simon Conway in Iowa. And the discussion was about what would happen if he goes to jail. Listen to what happened.
I think it's a very dangerous thing to even talk about because we do have a tremendously passionate group of voters. And I mean, maybe 100, 150. I've never seen anything like it. Much more passion than they had in 2020 and much more passion than they had in 2016. I think it would be very dangerous.
I mean, it's probably not wrong, but I don't know what the 100 or 150 in there that he's referencing. But look, he has true supporters. But we've also seen in recent times of after January 6th, some of those supporters are not available to protest. They're in jail on their own, and others have just decided not to. So I think it's just one more example of him, I guess, riling up his core supporters, but also, talking about violence in an oblique way.
Yeah, and after January 6th, one would hope that even any question about it or any reference to something like a danger, he would make a very strong point to shut that conversation down.
One would think and one would hope. But to all of this, if there's anything that comes out of what the judge has been saying, if this trial is bumped ahead, it's because of the facts and the law and the fact that it's a complicated case, not any of this noise about him being a candidate or there potentially being violence or things being slowed down because of who he is as Donald Trump. It's a complicated case legally. That could bump the date forward. All of this is frankly dangerous to be talking about, but also ancillary, separate from what really matters here.